Hey, let me ask you. Well, we're kind of just doing some post-show stuff. What from a licensing? Because you don't have an MSDN subscription, I assume.
No.
So you're the average guy when it comes to
Yep.
Windows licensing. How do you kind of handle the? I assume you bought a license when it was $50 for 2011.
Yep.
For that stuff, and then how do you handle
Yeah, it
your
was 50.
Windows licensing? Just with the PCs that you buy, or how do you do that?
Yeah, well, no, the desktop I'm podcasting from is one that I built. So I bought an OEM version
Okay.
of Windows, and when the Windows 8 update came out, I got that. That was relatively cheap when you just got the update. And then there's a little trick you can do with the SLA manager to use the update to do a clean install of Windows 8 instead of migrating from 7 to 8. And I did that.
Right.
So you say like slmgr rearm, and you can, in fact, use that upgrade media to install.
Do a fresh install. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is an update, but it is a fresh install, which I like to do with every version.
Yeah. And so how many Windows boxes do you have local there?
So I've got the Media Center, which is on 7, this desktop, which is on 8.1. On my laptop, I'm using Ubuntu and Windows, so I've got a dual boot there. Ubuntu for some software development in Ruby I'm doing, and Windows for the rest. And I've been doing more of that recently. So I've actually been
For
booted
the
into
day
Windows.
job, right? For the
No,
day job?
just for myself.
Oh, okay.
Just like on the side and
Yeah.
just learning some
Because
Ruby. I know.
you're a software guy.
Yeah.
By day. Yeah.
Yep. So I'm a C# developer, ASP.NET developer. So just kind of learning some different ways of doing things on the side. And if you're using Ruby, it's probably better just to use Linux. It was kind of born out of Linux and the open source world, and it's just don't force it on Windows. So I dual boot for that.
And Visual Studio guy, you have to be almost, right?
Yeah.
And okay, for C#. MVC or web forms?
MVC. My last job I was in web forms, but MVC is much nicer.
A lot
these days.
a lot of enterprises are moving to MVC.
Yeah.
So
a lot of enterprises are moving kicking and screaming to MVC as well.
yeah. We adopted MVC. We were web forms for a lot of years, and then have mostly moved or are trying to move to MVC for the most part. So that's
and
kind of where we're going.
MVC was born out of Ruby on Rails. Really, it is the same kind of idea, but taken into the Microsoft stack and done a Microsoft way. You know, it's actually quite different, but it's the same general overarching idea as Ruby on Rails is. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Now it's software development. In the 7 years I've been managing these developers at Gallup, man, it's just some rapid changes going on, and just different ways of thinking about it. And the web, the web has changed so much in those 7 years.
Here we are, video conferencing in HD in a web browser, right? I mean, come on.
It's insane, isn't it? And the picture's really good. And here's what's interesting. So I went back. I was recently migrating a lot of my podcasts to archive.org just to have them there.
Right. That's what I use for hosting, actually.
Oh, do you? So full-time hosting on that?
Yeah, we don't have as many listeners, so it's enough.
It works, right? And I think the interface has actually gotten a lot better over at archive.org. Their meta tagging is awesome.
Yeah, it was about a year ago they updated the interface. It was horrid for a long time.
It was awful. Yeah. So I was moving the shows over there to archive.org, and it caused me to go back and look at various posts that I've been doing. We've been doing this for 4 years, and I just think of how podcasting has changed in the last 4 years.
Yeah,
and
true.
some of the video, the very first video that we did in Google, because we were, Hangouts came out. I was on the beta program. The very first week, they went live like on a Tuesday. We did home server show and Google Hangouts on Wednesday, right? It was one of those public on Tuesday. We were doing it on Wednesday, and it was awful. The video was awful. The quality was terrible. The sound was awful, but we thought it was great. You know, when after
We
we
saw
did
the
it, we're like,
potential. Yeah.
yeah, we're like,
So
oh, this is
we
so
couldn't do
good.
this before. Now we can.
Yeah, and you know, we had cobbled in those early days. We had cobbled a solution together with UStream and some other things of doing it that way. But the ads were creeping in and some of those kinds of things. So when I was looking at the video quality, I'm like, God, this is just terrible. So to think about how far we've come with this kind of media, the fact that we're broadcasting this live, at least 1 million people could be watching it
And it would
too.
be fine. Yeah.
They're not, yeah, but yeah, it'd work great. You know, and you think, wow, that's amazing infrastructure. You know, so
Definitely.
it's,
Yeah. See,
yeah.
we were doing, before all the Hangouts business happened, we were doing live stream through XSplit.
Mm-hmm.
And we did video for a long time. We ultimately gave up on doing any kind of video just because it was just a distraction for what we were trying to do. And we did it for a good year or so and just kind of gave up on it because it's just a distraction.
It's become, for us, it's become part of our DNA. So it just is, like you said, it just is what it is. You guys really focus and do a great job on, you know, your audio quality is great. Your production value at the end, your finished product, I think is really, really good. And mine probably suffers a little bit because we focus on the live.
Yeah.
And that kind of might take a little bit.
Well,
you know,
give and
take
take a
away
little
from it.
bit, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And it's just the audience, right? From that standpoint.
Here's a fun fact. You know the theme song? That is something that I wrote, played, and recorded on all the same equipment that I used to do the podcast.
Yeah. So you wrote your own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, two. There's two generations of music. We did one, and then I went back to the drawing board and did it again, and ended up being a little bit better, I think.
Yeah. How long is the clip? The initial clip that you put together when you recorded it? How much? 30 seconds worth of?
I don't know. Let me look, because I basically just loop it. But I can look right now and tell you exactly how long it is.
They like your shirt, by the way, in the chat.
Oh, yes. DC United. DC United just got a brand new soccer-specific stadium deal. So that's a pretty big deal.
Wow.
Around these parts.
Oh no, they're referring. I thought they were referring to your shirt. They're referring to your koala on the mic.
Oh
stand.
yes, that's from Rennie. When Rennie came to DC, he gave me this koala here.
Nice.
So
That's
gets to hang
awesome. Yeah, I wouldn't have noticed that either. That it was on the mic stand, and then I was like, What's that over there? Oh yeah, it's a koala. I don't always understand those Australians. You know, it's kind of sketchy.
Okay, minute 9 is the theme song. That's how long it is.
A minute 9. And how long did it take you to kind of produce it once you started working on it?
That was probably like a day's work, like on the weekend sometime.
And you did drums. I haven't heard it, so is it? I probably have, but I don't remember. Drums, bass, piano.
Let's see. How could I?
Can you feed it back in? I've got a PC that could do that. Here, let me just.
Yeah, here. How about if you can do that right off the top of your head? Why don't I just put it on somewhere?
Well, hold on. It's at the beginning of your podcast, right? So
sure, that works. This is the End User, episode 189, CES 2015 edition, for Thursday, January 8th, Google Foo. Hello and welcome to the End User, the show.
All right, so that's it.
Yeah, there you go.
And so it's guitar,
Yeah.
electric guitar, and do you have any keyboards in that as
Yes.
well, or just okay?
So the drums are the keyboards, or the keyboard back here is the drums. I've got my old Mexican Strat here.
Oh, nice. Well, let me focus on you. Yeah, very nice. How long have you been playing?
Since college. So
okay.
Actually, since right before college. So the reason I learned to play is because I played soccer all throughout my youth, and I tore my ACL twice in high school. So when I was after the surgery, which takes 4 to 6 months to recover from, I had nothing to do. I was sitting around, so I picked up the guitar and taught myself to play.
Very good. It's a good reason to start playing guitar. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. My daughter just picked up the guitar, and she's been playing. We bought her a mini Taylor, I think, and so she's been practicing. Although I don't hear it. And I said to her the other day, I said, "You've been playing." That thing wasn't cheap, wasn't too expensive either. But I was like, "Have you been practicing that?" And she's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "I don't hear it." She's like, "I just play really quiet. I'm still a little self-conscious that I'm not making the right notes, and so I'm playing it really quiet." So,
and of course, with electrics, I just plug my earphones in, and it just sounds like pretty much nothing.
Right. Yeah, you can just strum it and run all the effects through your headphones. Somewhere
down there, I've got a multi-effects pedal too, so that I can apply different kind of gains and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then I've got this audio interface. I don't know if I've talked about this before. It's a MBox, and what it does, it runs Pro Tools, so it runs the professional audio tools that we learned to use in school, which was for audio engineering. And so I get to use all of that. This acts as a preamp for for this microphone, and then I plug the pedal into that, and so you can record all of that through that interface.
Is that an Avid MBox?
Yes, MBox 2 actually.
So 2 inputs.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Although it's 2 because it was the second.
Right. But it has 2 mic inputs. 2 XLRs.
Like there's an MBox 2 Mini, for example, which has no XLRs. This has 2. Yeah.
Okay. And that comes with Pro Tools.
So
when you buy it.
This has changed. So you can now buy Pro Tools as software, but back in the day when I got this, the price to admission for using Pro Tools was to buy their specific hardware.
Got it.
And there's really, particularly here in the United States, Pro Tools is the only audio program that any professional studio uses anywhere. Over in the UK and elsewhere, they're a little more into like Cubase or something. But if you're in the United States and you're producing audio, you're using Pro Tools in some way.
Unless you're me.
Right.
Then you're not.
Well, and, like for the podcast, I use Audacity, right? Because Pro Tools is overkill.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Hey, let me ask you this. One piece of podcasting gear that you don't currently have.
Ooh.
That you'd be looking to acquire in 2015, what would it be? I always like talking to fellow podcasters because a lot of my podcasting friends podcast about podcasting, and so they're always interviewing podcasting people,
like
Dave Jackson. Yeah,
the legend.
Yeah, the legend Dave. Hey, it's podcasting with him on Saturdays. We've done that for a year now. It's so much fun. I just love being the color commentator in the background, and he kind of does a lot of the heavy lifting. And Saturday mornings are I really look forward to them. It's fun to have call-in. You don't know what's coming up. And so that's been a blast for me. That was a big surprise. I didn't think I would enjoy that kind of podcasting as much as I do. I really look forward to Saturday mornings. But all those people, that whole group we hang out with there, they're all podcasters. So, but on this show, rarely, with the exception of like Mike Howard, rarely do I have a podcaster on here. So it's fun to have another podcaster. What kind of equipment? Anything you're looking at?
Okay, so I do 2 things, I think, since you're writing the checks.
Yeah.
This mixer I have right in front of the monitors that you can't see is the worst thing I've ever used, ever.
And what is it?
It's like a Radio Shack, terrible, awful piece of equipment. Now, what it does is it takes in 2 stereo inputs and merges them to 1. So it's effectively my headphones mixer. So I take the output of the MBox and put it into this mixer. And I take the output of the computer and put it to this mixer, and it mixes the 2 and puts it out to the speakers. So on the left, I have my computer audio, and on my right, I have the MBox audio. So that's all it does. But I'm pretty sure it causes some like squealy noises, and it's not well grounded. It's just poorly made. I'm pretty sure it was like $40. you know, like at a Radio Shack. So it's really bad.
I'm pretty sure it was like $40.
Yeah, it's been a long time now that I've had
That's
this mixer.
awesome.
So
That's
I definitely
awesome.
replaced this with maybe something from Behringer or something along those lines.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Mackie, Alesis.
yeah, or
Those
Mackie.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
Alesis. Yeah, Alesis. They're up there.
you know, I went Alesis on the Multimix 8, and I got it for $99 at Guitar Center, and it's the it's
No,
the
that's not
lowest
bad.
end. No, not for what I do, not at all. You know, the higher versions, which you have trouble getting this way anymore, but they allowed you to put through FireWire. They allowed you to put multiple channels through into your PC. Well, I don't do that kind of podcasting anyways, and so that was a super good deal. You know, at work, because I had a little bit more money, I bought a Mackie 12 channel for like $245, and even that's not a bad price for a 16 channel. I think is what is that, or is it a 12? I think it's a 12, and it's got 8 XLRs on it. I forget the model number. But that's been a great mixer too. The Alesis has been. I bought a 4-channel Alesis that I take on the road with me, and man, that thing has just been a little workhorse. They're not advertisers being tough, but it's done a lot of remote stuff with me and it held up pretty well. So that's kind of been my choice. So maybe a new mixer would be the next thing if you were thinking about upgrading something.
Yeah. So new mixer, and then I'll give you 2 more, and one's not for podcasting.
Okay.
Heil PR40. I'd like to try that out. I bet you that would sound great.
Although you've got good pipes, I think you'd sound good in anything.
Yeah. This ATR like doubled in price since I got it back in the day.
You pay $35 for it?
Yeah.
Yeah. You can still get the 2005s for $49.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So in the other one, I will drop a link here. This is a small version of a Pro Tools mixing service. So they make these in. I'm not. They have to make. They still have to make the bigger one. At school we had one that was 24 channels across, and basically this device, you don't route audio through it. It's not a mixer. It's a giant mouse, essentially. So you can control Pro Tools from this thing, and you slide the thing up, and the corresponding fader in Pro Tools will slide up. Now, what's cool is the faders are mechanized. So when you open an old project, like let's say you have the guitar on one track and it's at 8, and the bass is on the next track and it's at 4. When you open the project, all the faders jump into position, and it's just really neat.
That's creepy. I've seen that happen.
Yeah.
We did a gig. I did a gig at the base chapel, the Air Force Base Chapel, and they got crazy, and they got a bunch of money, and they bought this 24-channel super. Everything was mechanized, and USB interface. You could use the iPad. It had an iPad
Nice.
app, and you could run it. Yeah, and it was those kinds of things. So, and it had 99 presets in it that you could just click, hit enter, and whoop. So you talk about scenes. You could set up 99 different scenes based on that, and it would just go right to them.
There was one on this thing. The older one was called the C24. That was the 24-channel one. They had one mode on it called Vegas mode, and it was completely useless. All it did was slide the sliders in a sine wave and blink all the lights really rapidly.
That would be awesome.
There was this button that said like Vegas, and you're like,
Vegas
okay.
demo mode.
Yeah.
Right? They all have that demo built in that'll move things around, and that was too much power for us. We ended up having more trouble because we had 3 or 4 different services trying to do this one board, and inevitably somebody would be smarter than they actually were, and they would change something, then wipe out the settings from the thing before, or they'd come in and they couldn't figure out their own settings, so they would just reset the board and it reset everything. So you'd come in the next time and everything you'd worked we'd have guys stay late to try and, or we'd come in early to set stuff up and get the sound levels right and that kind of stuff, and just wiped out.
See, in school, we had a studio that had a completely analog mixer. It was from a company called Wunder. They were German. Mm-hmm. And it was a completely analog board. So when you would work on a mix or something, and you would, you'd fiddle around with the faders, and we had outboard compressors and all that kind of business, and preamps and stuff. So once you left the studio, it's an analog board. There's no going back. Right. Mm-hmm. So you'd have to mix it, and before you left, you would reset the board, take everything to 0, and if you wanted to get it back, you just could not.
Yeah, and those bigger boards, especially with the turn knob, it's super important where you get those knobs at, and that's some interesting stuff. I've pretty much with my Alesis, I have pretty much set it and forget it. By the way, real quick, if you're listening on Spreaker or Mixler, we're going to cut you off. See you guys. I have kind of set it and forget it type deal where I don't mess with the mixer very much. Every once in a while, I'll make a few adjustments to it, but you get it. I kind of get it set right and just kind of leave it there. I don't do enough with it, and it's got 4 XLRs in. I use one, and I guess I use it line in. Like one of the things, I was going to do this tonight, I'll have to do it next time. One of the fun things I've been doing, is taking call-in questions. And so people call me, and it comes to my phone. I got something wrong with my phone. Usually what I want it to do is come to my Gmail account so that or my voice account. But for some reason, it's only coming to my phone. But that's okay. So I just go to the voicemail app. Let me find that real quick. And it gives me an extra channel to be able to, let's see if this is Neil's call. I hope it is. Let's see if this will play for me.
Hi, yes, my name is Carrie.
No, that's not Neil. One second. Let's see if this is Neil.
Jim, this is Neil again, the Daily Rant.
Yeah, so Neil's been calling me every day. But it makes for a really nice, in this case, to be able to plug in the phone. And it sounds okay.
Yeah, that sounded pretty good.
Yeah, it's not bad. We played...
given that it's a phone, right?
Yeah, it's my S4.
I mean, it's not like an MP3 file, right?
No, it's a weird, in fact, I wish it was. It's a weird like WMR file. Yeah, and I can share it off the phone, right? I can like move it to Dropbox, but there's nothing on the planet that plays it. Oh, Real Audio Player plays it. When was the last time you? Yeah, when was the last time you used Real Audio Player? Right?
Yeah.
Is it even available anymore? Kind of.
I have no idea.
I don't either. I haven't used Real.
It has to have been more than a decade.
At least. Yeah, at least. So, one of those. Oh, actually, that was weird. Somebody just tried to call me.
Yeah, something just beeped.
I wonder if...
Hello, you're live on the air.
I probably could have done that. If your phone number ends in 0797. Did somebody try and call me? Oh, here it is. Oh, yeah, it's Andrew from Australia. Hold on. I think it's Andrew. Let's bring him in. Oh, he won't be able to hear us. Hey, this is Jim. Can you hear me? I answered. Hey, are you there? Can you hear me? No, he hung up. That's the trouble, right? Is that this is one directional. And so you plug it in to get the input into the show, but I can't necessarily, you end up kind of like putting this by the. It was like the other day I was testing out a lapel mic, and but I was sitting at the producing table. It's got a mic and stuff at work, so I ended up just pinning the lapel mic to the the foam, and it was like, hey, this lapel actually almost sounds as good as an ATR 2100. It wasn't a bad.
Hey, some of those, if you get the Countryman lavalier mics, they're kind of incredible. You'd be surprised how good that little.
Yeah, that little condenser.
You got to look at Countryman. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this was Shure, and it wasn't bad. It was a Shure. I'm sure in its day it was $400 or $500, and not a bad sound. In fact, I had it coming in on channel 2, and the mic on number 1, and I had somebody on the other end, and I was flipping between the two. I'm like, okay, tell me if you can hear the difference. And then I'd be on 1, I'd say something. I'd be on 2, and I'd say something. And so they keep trying to call me. All right, hold on. Let me see if we can get them. All right, hey, this is Jim. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, Andrew.
That shows how big the delay is.
Well, yeah, it's going to be a little bit delayed for you. Chris, you can hear Andrew, right?
Yes.
Yeah, except he can't hear you. That's the one.
Right, he can't hear me.
Too. He can't hear you, but
Yeah, I get the feedback through your mic.
yeah. So you should, at this point, you should turn off. You're never going to hear Chris. You should probably turn off,
Yeah.
if you've got something going on, you should probably turn that off. But, hey, you're live on Home Gadget Geeks. What's your question?
When can I come back on?
Anytime you're ready. Are you ready to come back on and join us back on The Real Show, Andrew?
Yeah. Look, maybe I think we said it in 2 weeks' time, didn't we?
Yeah, actually, I have you on the schedule, don't I? I think I have you scheduled for, because you're hearing me. I think you're hearing me through my phone at this point. I think that's the.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, you're hearing me through the phone. So I think you're scheduled for Chris. Hang tight for me 1 sec here.
Yeah, you good.
You are for the 29th, right? Or 30th for you?
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
You've just answered your phone on the YouTube.
Say that again?
You've just answered on YouTube.
I did. Oh, okay.
That's
Yeah,
that-
it's 30 to 45
That's how big the
seconds.
delay is.
It's 30 to 45 seconds.
No,
behind.
about 4 or 5 minutes.
4 or 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Wow, that's not good.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
That
That's
is a
not-
long time. Yeah, that's a long time to wait for it. So, well, no, this is kind of interesting. I wish, Andrew, you could hear Chris. Let's see, how could I do that so that you could hear Chris in real time?
You'd need some kind of you'd need something to feed it back through the mic of the phone.
Feed it back into the phone, right?
Because there is a
But then
there
you're
is a
gonna get feedback.
microphone. There is a microphone wire in there somewhere because you can plug in mics to it.
Yeah. Well, maybe it would
Yeah,
be.
you'd probably get feedback off the mic, or no, the mixer should take care of that. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because right, you have.
I'd have to think about it.
No, maybe not.
I can tell you that it's
Yeah,
stereo.
anyway, I'll let you get back. I'll let you get back to the post show, and I'll try and catch you over the weekend.
All right, it sounds good. Good talking to you, Andrew.
I was
Yeah,
about to
cool.
be like,
You too, mate.
All right, take care.
Yeah. Bye.
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 I was about to say like bye, but then I know.
Yeah, he can't hear you.
So there's on any phone's audio jack, there's 3. There's left,
Yeah.
right, mic. So
Yeah, so I would
maybe
just
you'd need a special. Yeah, see, it's only stereo. You can see the
Right.
2 bands.
Right.
So you'd need a 3-pronged one that wire could go into a mixer or something.
I wonder if they make a splitter. I think Dave Jackson's got a split. Ooh, do you hear that?
Yeah, there you go.
That's my finger touching.
Yeah, that's
Um,
your ground.
I think he might use Boss Jock. I don't know. He figured that all out on his side, and I haven't. I didn't really want to take. It was great to have Andrew on the phone, by the way, but I didn't really want to take. For this show, I don't take callers, and so I haven't messed with that. But yeah, you're right. Right, I would need something that's controlling the.
Yeah, they have to make
microphone.
some kind of splitter.
We've been using, and Ask the Podcast Coach, we've been using Block Talk Radio's telephone
Right.
interface, but it has a second of latency in it that is just enough that you step all over each other.
Right, that can be killer.
It's awful.
And also, I'm used to on the end user, we're fairly back and forth with each other. So I'm kind of used to jumping in and stepping on people. So then when I'm talking to somebody and there's even some more delay, I'm even more likely to step on them.
Do you have delay in when you're talking about it's Tyler, right?
A Taylor.
Taylor. So when you're talking with Taylor, is there latency between the two of you? Because sometimes I feel like when I listen to you live, I feel like you wait
Yeah,
for
sometimes
him.
sometimes there is, yeah. Well, and also one of the things that we kind of have a informal arrangement about is that if, for example, you don't want to take intro into the next story, you just stay silent, because after in post-production, I run a plugin on the thing that removes all the silence.
Yeah.
So if you stay silent and nobody talks, that will automatically get edited out. I don't even have to edit it. It just goes away.
Yeah. Because you've got a script, right? You have an Audacity script that goes
Yes, I
through
do.
and does all this post-production stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a script that applies some EQ that gives me the like big bottom radio kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it boosts the bass on my voice just a little bit, and like a dB or two, something like that. And then the it trails off all the treble noise that you can't hear. So at a certain point in the spectrum,
Yeah.
there's just treble that humans can't hear.
Right.
So you just
Cut
throw
all
all
that out.
throw all that information away. Only noise lives up there, so you can get rid of it.
Yeah, I get some of that too, and I use that noise filter to just take it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I apply a couple other things.
You do normalization?
Yes, we do normalization. Here, let me open it up real quick. Right, so I do an EQ, I do a pretty hefty compression, and I do a normalize. And I do that after I remove all the silence.
Yeah, so it goes through in steps, right? So you load the audio in,
Yeah.
run the script, and it just goes through in steps.
Yeah, it takes about 5 minutes. I walk away.
Yeah,
for a while.
that's pretty good. 5 minutes that's fast for all that stuff that it's doing. I
Let
mean,
me see,
'cause it's an hour, right? You guys have about an hour
Yeah, it's
audio.
usually about an hour. And I compress the crap out of it, too.
Oh, do you?
Yes.
No, not compress size, but compress sound.
No. In fact, it's 192,
Oh, okay.
which is pretty big for a podcast.
Okay.
But
Yeah, that is pretty big.
audio compress.
Right. Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah, I don't. I probably should do more with it, but
Yeah, I do 8.5 to
don't.
1
okay.
compression, which is
Wow.
that's pretty stiff.
Yeah.
What
Yeah, well,
radio does infinite compression.
Really?
Yeah, they call it brick wall limiting. They usually do limiting.
Yeah. Well, your audio gets good reviews. I mean, the guys are saying that out there. A lot of the guys that come here listen to you, too, over there at End User, and so I think it's pretty good. Every time I've listened to it, it's sounded really good and been clear. And at some point you're listening to it in the car.
Yeah.
So it's good enough. I need to do some things better. It's just one of those things I need to kind of commit to. I've got to find a system that works for me and works every time.
Yeah, see, and that's what I did with this, is now it's all automated and I don't even have to think about it.
Right. Yeah.
So I remove the silences, and then I apply my 3 effects chain, and I walk away get some tea or whatever, and
Right.
come back
Tea Earl Grey.
Right. I go talk to my Amazon Echo to get
All
my
right.
Earl Grey.
The guys are starting to drop off. Chris, hang tight 1 sec. If you're guys out in the chat room, thanks for coming out and staying along with us tonight. Of course, we always stay along, so that's the tradition here. And Dave used to call it Snack Break Weekly over at when he was doing Surface Geeks. When they went into post show, they would all get snacks and then come back and eat and talk while they were doing it. We never did that here. But guys, if you're out in the chat room, thanks, appreciate it. Yeah. So Ken is saying he can't wait for the big celebration show next week. It's going to be the biggest. Yeah, it'll be the most anticlimactic. We'll say, woohoo, 200, and then we'll move right into the interview with LastPass.
Yeah, they actually talked about it on the Golden Globes. I thought I heard somebody say.
I think I heard that too.
During one of their victory speeches.
I think it was Oprah.
Yeah,
that came
Oprah.
out.
She said, hey, Jim Collison, you get a car! You get a car! You get a car! For the 200th episode of Home Gadget Geeks.
That's right. They were celebrating the 200th episode.
No, that's a story. Don't look that up.
Yeah. Yeah. So
That
yeah,
is a good
no,
milestone, though. That's crazy. I mean, you don't ever think when you start these things that you're going to get to show 100. I mean, now it's 200. So keep
yeah,
moving forward.
yeah. No, it's good. We'll just keep going. I'll have to quit at 999 because all the systems I've put in place only allow for 3 digits. So at
Yeah.
999, we call it quits.
Yeah. Well, by that time you'll actually be a hologram in somebody's living room, and they'll be sitting there watching you in like real life, sort of.
Mike
Kind of.
Howard says he should get a
Like Yoda.
prize for being the longest listener. Maybe like a Drobo. Hey, the Drobos were $229 yesterday. $229 you could get a Drobo. That's a big deal here. Yeah, I was just waiting for somebody to put $signs. That's another inside joke here on the podcast. They like to. Well, I used to talk about Drobos. You know what a Drobo is? Are you
Which
familiar with
Drobo is
Drobo?
right for you? I'm checking it out right now.
Boom, the one that's right behind me. So this one right there.
Oh yeah, check that out.
So my kids bought that for me 2 years ago, 2 birthdays ago, and birthday and a half ago. And yeah,
They're
2.
giving one away.
And so, oh man, I've given a bunch of those things away over the years. I bet I've given away 3 of those, maybe 4 if you count the home server show ones that we gave away. Kevin Schoonover says show 201 will be better. Actually, show 201 will feature the one and only Kevin Schoonover, along with Andrew Morris. Andrew Morris is coming back.
Nice.
Oh well, so Lopta says, is it 3 digits or 3 characters? I've kind of committed to. I guess I could always just add a 1 in front of those numbers. I'd be fine. There's no physical coding limitation that keeps me to 3 numbers. So I guess I'll just keep going. Mike, once the Drobo filled with 4 terabyte reds. Do you have any local? What do you use for cloud backup, Andy? Use any backup?
Oh, I'm rocking the Dropbox, a little Amazon. I don't know.
Does it
Not
work?
much. Not
Does
much
it-
for the safety net. No, it doesn't. I mean, I like a little Amazon S3 action I use just because I enjoy using that. So I've used that in the beginning, then I switched over to Dropbox, and Dropbox is nice. I mean, it's a good way for me to communicate with the people that I outsource some of the design work to, and then my wife and stuff, she helps me with the business. So I try to keep everything pretty simplistic, only because there's a learning curve with both myself, and then I don't want there to be a huge amount of time spent teaching others how to use things. So it's very simple for me to say, hey, do you use Dropbox? Yes. Okay, let's communicate that way. So that's about as far as I get.
So you back up your PCs anywhere to anything?
No.
Okay.
Am I going to get chastised now?
No. This is a huge backup community. I'm seeing
Yeah.
you're kind of the average guy. You're the average tech guy. You're the listener we're trying to reach.
Yeah.
in a
No,
lot of ways.
I am. I make no claims that I got it all figured out, so I just learn as I go.
Yeah, no. And I started podcasting to podcast to you. I mean, that
Yeah.
was the original intent. What happened is we gathered a whole bunch of really smart tech guys, and it gets the boat rises a little high sometimes.
Sometimes it does. I will say, I mean, when I first met you and you said that you were doing the tech podcast, and I tuned in to, the average guy, and I started watching some of the episodes, and a few of them I was like, oh yeah, I'm taking notes and writing stuff down. And then there were some where I came in, I was like, if I have to spend more time Googling
Yeah.
what you were saying, but I learned something every time. It's just my level's a little bit farther down.
Yeah, no, you're my target audience. That's the irony in it. Is you're who we're you're who we're trying to reach. Mike Howard wants to know why don't you back up?
I don't know. I have no set reason for it. I probably should. It's it's one
Well,
of those
so
things.
let me
like,
ask you.
It's one of those things like, why don't you have a pair of gloves and a bottle of water in the back of your trunk? I mean, I don't know. It's no
Now
reason.
they're starting to turn on you. Now.
I knew that was going to happen. Why'd you ask me that question? You should have known better than that. I should have said, why is this guy even on your show, Jim?
No, because you're the average guy. That's awesome. You're who I'm trying to reach. So let me ask you this. So I sneak in your house and I smash all your hard drives, right?
Mm-hmm.
How far does that set you back?
Not very far.
And why?
Not very far. Because, I probably put all my eggs in one basket, but between Amazon S3 and Dropbox, I have all my client files in there, and everything's, probably not super secure, but it's in there. And if I have to get to it, I can. I do. I mean, I'm not. When I create content for my clients, I create it. I go through it. I do the editing. I drop it in Dropbox, and then we go back and forth via some link sharing. They join a shared folder, and that's what works for me, and it works for them, and it's simple. Trust me. Some of the clients that I work with here in Clinton, Iowa, even just outside like a 50-mile radius, if I was to explain to them how to do anything outside of Dropbox, it would take more time for me to get them on board with what I was doing than it would be for me to actually create the content they're paying me to do. Yeah. So I keep it simple for both myself and them. So there's really no reason. Like I don't have. I'm not going to stand on a soapbox and say I don't back up because of this. I don't back up because I just don't think about it.
Well, but you do, right? I mean, you back up in a sense as you keep those files in the cloud, and you've got them in two different places, right? You've got them on Dropbox and on Amazon S3.
Correct. Yep. Okay. So I got two separate copies
and a local copy probably,
and a local copy on my desktop. Yeah, and then now I'm looking at Drobo, and I'm checking that bad boy out too. So
Drobo's nice, man. I'm not gonna lie. Throw some drives in there, and you get some good. But you gotta kind of need a lot of storage. This is the thing. No, these guys are gonna kill me now. This is the kind of thing where the average guy. So excluding everyone in the chat room, okay. Most people don't need that much storage. Now you're a content creator and you're doing more and more podcasts. I mean, I've been podcasting for 4 years, right? I'm just now up to 500 gig of podcast stuff. That's all the raw video. That's all the produced video. That's all the video in 3 different formats. That's audio raw, audio edited raw, audio MP3s. All of that. I keep every stage of the editing process. I keep it all forever, right? Because I'm like, I've got storage. I'm trying to fill it up. I do all that, 500 gigs still. Now, Mike Howard, who runs a photography podcast, he gets pictures from the guests, and I think he does stuff in other resolutions that I don't, and some of those kinds of things. He runs a little more space. But really, I mean, think about it. 500 gig is all I got, right? That's nothing. And so do I need a 4 terabyte home server to store that? No. Do I even need a Drobo to store that? No. For the most part, there'd be simple. Now, because I do a podcast about backing up and home servers, I have to. This is what I tell my wife. I have to have those things.
I have to.
But I have to, honey. This is what keeps me in an MVP status.
Yeah.
And she says, "And what does that get me?"
Mrs. MVP status.
Exactly. Ooh.
There you go. Throw that. Switch that one. It only works once, though. I can tell
You're such a good marketing guy.
Yeah. No, I'm like, when you introduced me to podcasting, I had no idea. I mean, I had my Blue Yeti. That was the first mic I got, and I was sitting there recording with that, and then I wanted to boost up my sound quality, and I wanted to, I started putting some acoustic foam and stuff in the studio at home, and I started really caring about my quality of my sound, and I started running my raw MP3 through some filters and making sure that it was normalized and leveled, and that's just how I process things. And I'm sure when it comes to, storage and backing up, I'll eventually get to that same point too. It's just, I usually pick one thing and I concentrate on that. My brain does not function if I had to work on, hey, learn how to podcast and then also do this as well. Right. So
right. I was the same way. I mean, I do take these things in stages, and I've got the Drobo. Next to it is a IOSafe Solo where everything's stored that's fireproof. Right in there. So if the house burned down, I still have a local copy that will survive. Nothing else. I'll have no computers to reinstall it on, but at least I'll get a local copy.
Does your wife say, then what happens to the rest of us, Jim?
Exactly.
You have all your podcasts backed up. What about the rest of it? Would you buy a fire extinguisher, Jim? And not buy a home storage that's fireproof. Let's buy a fire extinguisher first.
This is MVP. You have to understand.
Yeah, it's a status symbol. No, I think I'm looking at these Drobos and I like that. I'll have to do a little bit more reading on that and see if it's something that I need. And Trust me, I buy enough crap that I don't need.
Yeah.
And I get chastised for it. Not very often, but every once in a while. My wife. It got bad when I was in Delaware and I had to tell the UPS guy to drop the packages off at the back door, so that my wife didn't see him at the front door. When you have a handshake agreement with the UPS guy, you know you have a problem.
Slipping him a 5.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming to
Hey
the back
man,
door.
I really dig the brown. Here's $5. Can you deliver that to the back door? Because if she sees this, I'll be sleeping on the porch, bro. So yeah, it got bad for a while.
To me on the porch.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, a Drobo's a nice. Drobo's a nice if you need probably 2 terabytes or more at this point.
Yeah.
You want some redundant. You got a bunch of different drives, right? Say you've got a 1 terabyte and a 1.5 and maybe a half terabyte, and you want to get some redundancy. A Drobo is great for that because you can just throw all those drives in and it figures everything out for you, right? From that standpoint.
Yeah.
And it's
what about the Mini? What about the Drobo Mini?
No, the Mini was designed to take on the road with you, like photographers.
Okay.
Load a bunch of. You can get that 4-bay, I think, cheaper than the Mini. If you watch for the deals, they're going to be clearancing that out. They got some new hardware coming, so I think we're going to see a few more deals. But $229 for a 4-bay Drobo, that's USB 3, not bad. Not a bad deal. No drives, so you're going to have to put a few drives in. But you can put any drives in them. That's the beauty of it, is you can find the cheapest drives at whatever size works for you, pick those up and throw them in. And it works great. I think in my server I've got two 1 terabyte drives, 1.5, a 750 gig. I have to look and see what else is running on that. But it's a whole hodgepodge of, there might even be a 2 terabyte drive in there. It's kind of a whole hodgepodge. I never installed the software again because I had to reinstall this OS. It's kind of a hodgepodge of drives, and it's just super convenient, right? For the average guy, I think the Drobo is a great storage solution. Not quite as fast as everything else, and if your Drobo crashes, you got to get an exact. Well, that's not true either. If your Drobo crashes, say you lose your Drobo at some point, 3 years later from now, you lose a Drobo. The way things are today, you can get another one and take those drives out, and put them back in the exact same order, and fires right back up for you.
Nice. Yeah. How much are they?
Retail.
Yeah, looking.
Let's look on Amazon. That's probably the.
I mean, I'm on Drobo's website, but you gotta. I don't think they just give you a flat dollar.
Actually, so right now a 4-bay USB 3 on Amazon, $299.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah, not bad at all. And that same one was $229 yesterday. Although if you use that, I tweeted it. If you follow that link, it still might be available. You never know.
Yeah, I'll have to look into. I actually have to send that to my father-in-law because that's something that he has a little home server action going on, and he's really into that. And he's also said the same thing to me: make sure you're backing your stuff up. So I'm going to heed the warning and maybe make the investment. So I'll add it to my list.
Yeah, no, you're a busy guy. You're a business owner. You've essentially got stuff backed up, so you're okay with us now, right? We've accepted you back into the fold.
I have a folder on my desktop where I store everything.
Oh, it's safe because it's in a folder.
It's on a floppy drive.
It's on a floppy drive. I back it up every night, pull the floppy out.
You see that commercial? I don't know if it's a Geico commercial or which one it is, where the grandma's sitting there and she's talking about how insurance, and she's talking about how she just signed up for car insurance, and she pops out the CD-ROM drive and puts her T in there. She says she's got the technology all figured out.
She's got it figured out. She's got it figured out.
That's what I feel like on this show.
Yeah, you got it figured out, man. No, you got it figured out. I also just purchased two 3 terabyte Reds for my home server.
Yeah, I think I saw that on Facebook.
Yeah, those are some pretty sweet. Those have been pretty sweet. Pretty sweet, man. Pretty sweet. Pretty sweet.
Yeah, that's what I think is so cool about technology, though, is you can never get bored. I mean, you can never sit back and say, I wish there was something new, because there's always something new. There's always something to grab your attention. There's always something new to look at and enjoy and kind of embrace. And then once you learn how to use it and you master it, on to the next thing.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, just think about CES alone. There's all kinds of new gadgets coming out along those lines, and all kinds of new stuff to do.
Yeah.
But It's yeah. So Tony Rayner was saying strong price on the Drobo, which I think, but still waiting on a Synology box. I recently, so in our community, I'm probably the only one talking about Drobos, but a lot of the guys are talking about Synology. Same. Have you ever heard of a Synology box before?
No, I have not.
So same kind of idea as a Drobo, but way smarter, right? The Drobo does everything for you. You just set it and forget it. You load the drives in, and you wait. Like right here, if one of these drives, right there, if one of the drives go bad, one of those lights starts blinking, and you literally just pop the drive out, troubleshoot it, or put another drive in, and boom, it fires it back up, formats it, and away you go, right? That's really easy. A lot of the Synology QNAP, those are true NAS boxes. So that you load those up with drives, and you choose a RAID option, and they got there. And some of the newer ones, they're almost like a server. They've got some some Core i3, Core i5 chips on them. You can actually run some stuff on them. So they're a little bit of an upgrade. They're more expensive. They're in the $600 range, but a lot of the guys are using them, and there's a lot you can create kind of media servers with them. You can use Plex, which is a kind of a media server option. And so that's kind of a step. That's kind of the step up if you're going to get into that kind of stuff. You go to a Synology. I've been looking at the QNAP boxes. We talked about this last night on Home Server Show. I kind of like the pricing, and I sold one to my nephew-in-law. Is that what you say? If I have a niece and she's married, is he my nephew-in-law?
It's a friend.
How does that work?
That's what you say, Jim. You don't try to figure it out. You just
He's
say,
a friend.
I sold one to a friend.
Okay, he's my nephew-in-law, and he really, he wrote back the other day, said the thing's working great. So it's another one of those things. Kevin, is that Drobo still $229? Let's see. Hold on. Where did I put that? I think I tweeted that.
They have. I'm on there right now on Amazon. It says base unit $299.
Yeah. Well, this was it. This was a different link. Here, let's go to the link
Okay.
I put out on Twitter. It was on eBay. No, it's still still $299 eBay. Let me throw let's see. Let me throw that link in chat for you. Hold on. Let's see. Wow, that's
So
crazy.
the Drobo, that's the 546 option, $546. That comes already preloaded with 4 1TB drives. Then
Does it? Does it say that? I don't think so.
It says-
I think
it
it's
says
empty.
4x1 TB. So I'm assuming that meant that it was 4.
Oh, maybe so. Maybe so. If they say, let's see. Let me find it.
That was
here.
on Amazon.
You're on Amazon, and it's usually they don't come with drives, so I would really, really, really double check before you do that. Let's see if I can find those. Actually, you can get a used Drobo, used 4-bay, the last generation, for $150. That's not bad. USB 2. They're really slow. That's the problem. Let's see. Hold on. I need to get a link. Let's get this link. Copy. Let's see if this works. Are you monitoring the chat room chat?
No.
Let's see. Yeah, that link works. It's on eBay and not on Amazon, unfortunately, so we don't get to take advantage of the Amazon credit for it. But this is the 3rd gen USB 3. USB. Where am I? USB 3. $229. That's the cheapest I've ever seen them. The time my kids bought me this one for my birthday. My son John worked for Drobo at the time, so he got an employee discount on the deal. But
Nice.
still pretty expensive. Those guys chipped in. That was a big freaking deal for them, for my kids to chip
And
in.
they brought you the 4-bay. Is that what that is behind you?
It's a 5-bay. This is the 5-bay N, so it's network attached. So it's got a.
Okay. Oh, that's cool.
Yes.
And then it came with no drives. You had to.
I had to put the drives in it. Yeah, but I had a bunch of drives to put in. Let me see if I can see what's in there. Do I have the Drobo dashboard? I had to reinstall Windows on this PC over here. Hey, if you're listening on Spreaker, I guess somebody is still listening on Mixler. Let's see if there's anybody. If you're on Spreaker, I'm going to cut you off. Thanks. Somebody's still on Spreaker, so we'll leave. We'll stay on Spreaker. All right, Mixler. Sorry. 0 available, 400 sold. Oh, it says 0 available? Oh, yeah. Man.
Yeah, it
so
does.
it's not,
0
yeah,
available.
it does. Good catch, Tony. Good catch. So they sold out, $229. That's a good price. good price. Have one to sell? You can sell it now. I've had this version. I had the 2.0 version as well. USB 2.0. I like them. I like the set it and forget it. Super easy. Yeah. So Lopta says I give away hard disks when I'm trying not to. So we gave away. Drobo shipped one to me. I think it was the 3.0 version. Maybe it was 2.0. Drobo shipped one to me, and then I was going to take it. I was going to test it, use it, and then take it to the meetup, and it was going to be a giveaway. So I was using it and forgot to take all the drives out when we went to the meetup and gave it away with a drive in it.
Oh man!
And at the time, I think it was a 1 terabyte drive, and they weren't terribly expensive, but they're not the $7 that they are now, type deal. And so I was like, hey, I'm missing a drive. We were at the meetup. I couldn't find a drive. I'm like, I'm missing a drive. Where's this drive? Finally, we figured it out. It never came out of the Drobo. So Kyle was good enough to bring it back. Kyle won it. Kyle Wilcox, one of our listeners, won it. He brought it back, and I was like, you know what? Just keep it. He's a young kid, just starting in life, and I'm like, you need a hard drive anyway, so just keep it. So
Nice.
It's good to pay it forward a little bit. So. All right, if you are listening live, we're going to cut you loose, and thanks for staying out. These guys never go away. We could talk all night, and I appreciate that as well. And we'll see you guys back here. Don't forget, next Thursday, LastPass, and help me get the word out. That's going to be a good podcast, so especially with all the security problems we've had over the last 6 months to a year.
And it showed 200.
And it's who cares about that?
Oh, it's huge.
I know. Huge show. Come out and listen to Amber next week. We'll see you guys.